Oh, look, Paul, we're matching. Look, we're both wearing aquamarine.
Yours is a bit
Eau
darker
de
than
Nil. Well,
mine.
mine's more of an eau de Nil. And more stylish. You'll find.
Thank you.
Not really.
Well,
I think this is lovely, actually. This is, well, they're both from our friend, aren't they?
Yes.
Our friend down the road, she loves to give me scarves when she's finished with them. And this is a beauty. It's linen. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, fine linen. And this is linen too. She likes to buy you shirts.
She does, yes.
Yeah, but you never bloody wear them, do you?
Well, I do wear them.
No, you
But you're
don't.
right, I do have things in my cupboard that I wear rarely.
You should wear them more, because
And
you
I
could be
should
dead
wear
next
them
week.
more. I could be, yeah.
But
I could
anyway,
be.
welcome to the show, which
Yes,
is
a happy
called...
thought. Sunday Chat!
And of course, it's the 1st of September. Pinch punch, 1st of the month.
What's the next bit?
I don't know. I just like the pinch punch bit.
Yeah, you do like that. But what is the important thing about pinch punch 1st of the month?
I don't know.
When do you have to do it by?
I don't know.
Midday.
I think actually you're wrong.
No, I'm right.
Isn't it the first thing you have to say?
It's the first thing you have to say, but you mustn't say it after midday.
How can one go until midday without saying anything, Paul? It doesn't work, does it really? No.
Well, you could pinch and punch somebody in Lidl at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Get arrested and be in jail by lunchtime. Oh, lovely, Paul. What a wonderful way to start the week.
It is a funny thing, that pinch
I've been
punch
arrested.
1st of the month.
I attacked somebody in Lidl. Because you told me to.
I don't know where it comes from.
I don't know either. Google
it.
Google it.
Yeah.
Do the Google. So welcome to this week's show. It's been quite a tough week for me this week.
That's it. You've been lounging, watching videos and things all week.
I've been ill.
Oh yeah, that's right. You've been
why.
ill. Yeah.
I wasn't just lounging around for the hell of it.
Yeah.
I hate lounging around. No, I do. Unless I'm specifically doing something like watching television or videos. No, I don't. It makes me feel depressed. I've had a couple of moments this week where I've literally thought, is this it? Is this it? No, I have. I've had
when I've come in
some
the room,
existential crises this week.
he's sort of got. I've gone. How are you? And he's sort of, he's been like this, and then he got. I don't feel quite right. I feel a little bit warm. I feel a bit spaced out. It's like that, haven't you? All week. Yeah.
I can now gauge the amount of sympathy that I'll be giving to you next time you're unwell, Paul.
Oh dear. When am I unwell?
Far more frequently than I am.
Oh, I think not. I think
we tend to share our illnesses.
Yeah, you do, yeah. I think when I'm asleep, I think you come up close to me and then breathe over me. I think that's what happens. Yeah.
Anywho, let's get
How
on.
are you feeling now, Richard?
Still very...
Yeah.
Very congested still. Blocked in the ear. My cold sore is almost gone, which is really great because I did feel completely deformed.
Well, you were very ugly with it, yeah.
I think even with a cold sore, Paul, I still maintain a certain amount of glamour and sophistication. You'll find. No, I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling well enough to go back to work on Monday.
Can you go on?
I could go on. I still did a few bits and pieces.
Oh, he did.
Little bits and pieces.
He did.
Because actually getting up and down was a bit sort of like dizzying at one point.
Yes. Very traumatic.
Well, I could have collapsed, Paul.
Yeah.
Then, what would you be saying?
His appetite wasn't altered in any way.
No, I was still as hungry as ever. I didn't have a fever.
No, you didn't have a fever. No.
If you want more information on my journey through hell this week, then watch my daily vlogs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I wasn't feeling terribly motivated.
No. Well, I wasn't feeling terribly motivated, but I just had to get on and do stuff. So,
yeah, but you didn't have an illness, Paul.
No. I had a 6-person downstairs that had to be dealt with.
Oh, please, give me a break. You didn't do anything for me other than cook lunch and dinner, which is what you normally do.
Yeah, I made you cups of tea and I said, do you want some water? No, I don't.
Because I'd already served myself.
Oh, right.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
It's self-service in this house, even when you're ill.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the show. And for those of you who are new... Jesus, Mary, Mother of God.
Sorry.
I apologise now.
Dear.
But we would... That's better. We would like to say a big bloody thank you to our new coffee supporters who've recently joined us on our coffee supporters page. And if you're wondering where the link is, it's in the description box. That's the bit that sort of tells you about the video underneath, although normally it doesn't really tell you about anything to do with the video. It just
No,
says,
you don't put anything there, do you?
no, well, what am I going to put? This week, Richard's been unwell and Paul's been really cruel. What am I going to put? You know, watch the bloody video. You don't need a description. You've got a transcript as well. You want
Really?
more help?
Is there a
Yeah, there's always a
transcript?
transcript.
Oh, I
You can
didn't know.
show the transcript if you're bored with watching us talk.
You can read it, you mean?
Yeah, you can read it, but you can skip to the bit.
Oh, right.
So, you know, if you are wondering when we're going to get on to something about, say, television,
Right.
you can scroll down and find that section.
Is that like my chapters on A Week at the Plot, where there are different
I don't know,
days?
I've never watched your Week at the Plot, so I wouldn't know.
Oh dear. Oh,
So anyway, thank you.
30 odd years together.
And in particular, thank you to Angela for your very generous gift.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
from the bottom of our bottoms. We also managed to do a little podcast this week for our coffee supporters, which the link is exclusively posted exclusively for you, coffee supporters, on the coffee page.
There was lots of random chat in that, wasn't there? From your illness to flying board rubbers in classrooms. It was like a host of things, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
it was good.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, but it's exclusively for coffee supporters only. Thank you. So,
what's next? I think you'll find it's the weather.
as we mentioned, it's now the beginning of meteorological autumn. Ooh,
It is, yeah.
Autumn,
Yeah.
autumn.
In the Northern Hemisphere.
In the Northern Hemisphere, well, that's where we are.
And for our Antipodean followers, beginning of spring.
Yeah, lucky you.
Mad.
Well, I don't know about... Oh, it's windy.
It's
stormy.
very blustery today.
It's as though it knows
Yeah,
that it's now autumn.
Yeah,
How
the day
does
is
it
coming.
know, Paul?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, it's because of the tilt of the Earth, Paul.
Oh yeah, of course
Because
it is.
the
Yeah.
sun,
Yeah.
moon goes round the Earth, and the sun, and all those
Yeah, the
things.
sun doesn't go round.
No, but it.
Well, the sun goes round the. No, everything goes around the sun, and then the solar system goes. That spins around, doesn't it?
It does round
Yeah.
the galaxy.
The galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah, I do know things about space.
You do.
I
Yeah.
do. So yeah, the weather is reflecting the time of year.
Yeah, it is really.
It
yeah.
is. It's been breezy. I've noticed the leaves are falling.
They are. I was in our friend's garden, the one that
Already.
gave us these, yesterday having a coffee, and we were talking about the fact she'd done some work on one of her trees, and I looked up and I said, oh yeah, that looks good. And then I thought, gosh, that is already changing colour.
Yeah.
It's one that quickly changes. It changes early rather than quickly, sorry. But it's sort of like a third of the way through its change.
Which tree?
The big lime tree.
Well, that can sometimes be late. I think we're going to be on time this year with the season.
Oh, there we are.
With autumn,
you heard it here first.
Look, the birch tree is turning.
It is.
That is one of the first to go.
It is, but some of those that are brown, that's a slight concern because those are dead.
That's been dead for a
There's
while.
a few. Actually, there's a few.
That's been dead for a while.
There's a few dead branches there.
Well, the council will have to do it. It's not
well,
our
they don't
tree.
really do it anymore.
We can call them and tell them. The calicapa is turning purple.
It is, and the sedums are beginning to change colour now as well.
And in the back garden, I've noticed the
thing, the grass seed.
No, the tree, the cherry.
The cherry
is starting to yellow and drop.
It's losing its cherry. Yeah.
We never had any cherries to begin with, apart from those two on the other one. Anywho, so yes, the weather has been a mixture of sunshine, showers, and
blue skies, grey skies, clouds,
windy,
stillness,
everything.
Lots of wind.
Everything. It's been everything.
Rain. Yeah, all of it. All of it.
And apparently, apparently, you said there's been thunder.
Yeah, there's a thunderstorm
Forecast.
warning for 3 o'clock Sunday morning till 9 p.m.
I'm not getting
Sunday.
up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch a thunderstorm.
Well, I think if it was spectacular and it woke you up,
maybe
it would.
I would.
But it's rare anything wakes Richard up. I almost fell over the other day and he didn't wake up. Oh dear, yeah.
What do you mean you almost fell? What, walking to the bathroom?
Yeah, I was coming back from the bathroom and you were uncovered, so I went to pull the duvet over you to make sure that he was covered and he wouldn't get cramp. And then I almost fell over and I made quite a lot of noise and he just went
Good.
like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I was showing concern through the snore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yes. So let's move on. What have we noticed in the news this week, Paul?
I don't know, Richard. What have
noticed.
you noticed in the news this week?
There were a couple of things that caught my eye. So I thought, that's interesting. The first one was a story about the price of fish and chips. Now, for those of you in the United States of America and other regions of the world, may be familiar with the fact that fish and chips, which is fried fish in batter, delicious, and fried potatoes,
Deep
which
fried.
we call chips,
Deep fried.
is one of our national dishes, and it's very often eaten on the coast,
Yeah,
in the seaside towns.
yeah, where fish are plentiful. Yeah.
Well, there's fish and chips served inland as well.
Well, I know
Paul.
there are, but you said often on the outskirts. Now I'm just saying,
Yes,
it's where
it's
fish is
a
plentiful.
kind of dish that's served all over the UK, but very often in seaside towns at the chippy. And when we go to Barmouth, we always indulge in fish and chips. I mean, when we say indulge, it's very often a large portion.
Well, we get a portion, and the portion is large, rather than we get a large portion.
Well, yeah. But
We don't order a large portion.
I
Do
like
you?
a large. I like to feel completely filled.
There we are. You heard it here first.
Well, I do. If I'm going to eat fish and chips, I want to gorge on it, be greedy.
Oh yes, yes. This
but
memory is flooding back.
Don't be disgusting, Paul. Don't take it into the gutter. It's a foul, disgusting person. The story was the price of fish and chips. And of course, as everybody knows, the past couple of years, there has been a cost of living crisis in many, many ways, affecting many, many different costs. But you know, fish and chips was always considered, or at least a bag of chips, was always considered to be an inexpensive, cheap meal.
Mm-hmm.
People went to the chippy because it was cheap, cheerful, and frankly, it filled your belly. I remember when we were kids, we used to go to the chippy and buy a bag of chips.
For how much?
I think it was something like 15p for a bag of chips, and they came in like a sort of cone.
Of newspaper. Ours did.
Well, it was never directly in newspaper. It was
wrapped. A bit of greaseproof paper and then...
Yeah, but we very often bought them in a cone, an open cone of chips.
Which you can get now.
Yeah, and it was cheap, you know. And they'd always say, do you want them open? Do you want them open, love?
Salt and vinegar.
Salt and vinegar. So, you know, cheap and cheerful, filled your belly. Now they're saying for a family of 4, fish and chips for 4, 50 quid. 50 quid. I can see it.
I can see it. I can see it. I don't think it would be 50 quid at our local one, which is highly renowned.
Yeah, but we haven't. We had fish and chips. When did we last have it? When we went to Barmouth.
Oh yeah, when we went to Barmouth. Here it was like mum and dad time.
Yeah, and that was 30 quid.
Yeah, yes it was.
And
you're
that
right.
was probably 10 years.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is going to be that.
Yeah, it is. But of course, it's even more expensive now because the price of oil has gone up so much. You know, cooking oil has really seen inflationary costs rocket.
Hasn't the price of potatoes gone up as well? Because
absolutely,
of
there's been poor harvests, so you know costs go up.
I mean, what is the world coming to?
I mean, it is. Yeah, it is. But it's. I mean, the fish and chips was something that. Excuse me. During the Second World War, it was Churchill made sure the fishing boats and everything were going out because he said that the country should not be without being able to have fish and chips every week. It was a protective thing, wasn't it?
It was a staple.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I saw in the news this week was the festival of La Tomatina in Spain.
Oh yeah, that got you a bit irritated, didn't it?
Well, I was a bit irritated. This is the festival which is basically a huge food fight involving tomatoes.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was started, I believe, in 1945, and they kind of continued the tradition. Now, on the surface, I looked at it and thought, what a waste of tomatoes. What an absolute waste of tomatoes, you know. All that goodness, all that nutrition. And then I read that they supposedly use the tomatoes that are unusable.
Yeah.
But then this sparked a question.
When is a tomato unusable?
Well,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, but I also thought to myself, if that amount of tomatoes are being deemed, I mean, this is a lot of tomatoes.
Yeah, it's millions.
If that amount of tomatoes are being deemed unusable, who on earth is growing and harvesting these tomatoes? There's clearly a problem because surely there can't be that amount of unusable, unharvestable, inedible tomatoes.
I've got a feeling that someone said to the PR people one day, but isn't this a waste of tomatoes? And they came up with a line about them being inedible. I thought
those tomatoes were processed and sort of filtered to use in things like puree and sauces.
Well, yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, certainly in Guernsey, you know, when Guernsey was a big tomato grower in the up to about the mid 70s, in the sort of late 60s and early 70s, if there was a glut, what would happen is they would be picked and put in tomato boxes, which are sort of like little wooden crates, and they'd be put on the roadside for people to take away. And we would often, you know, be in the car and see these crates, and we'd go and we'd take a whole crate of tomatoes. And Dad loved them Dad loved them poached down to a sort of mush with an egg in, which I know you absolutely hate. And when I mean egg, you sort of make a hole in it and then you put that in.
No.
I can't remember what the dish is called, but it does have a name in Europe somewhere. So yeah, gluts were always given away. But of course the industry in Guernsey collapsed because of cheaper imports coming from Holland and things. So yeah.
I don't understand how they can be cheaper.
Well,
If
because
they're homegrown.
because they have bigger greenhouses. You know, the greenhouses in Guernsey had been there for 100 years and maintained really well. And then there was huge investment in hothouses, in greenhouses in the Netherlands, and basically it just became cheaper, and they were heating them, they were using geothermal to heat, and they were coming in earlier.
But
and
Guernsey has a great climate.
It does. It has a fantastic climate. Many of the Guernsey, when the tomato industry collapsed, quite a few of the growers moved to the Isle of Wight, and the Isle of Wight has we've been sent tomatoes from the Isle of Wight Tomato Company, and it has a big industry of tomato growing.
Yeah, but
And some of those are Guernsey people, or were originally Guernsey people.
I don't understand it. I really don't. I think it's ridiculous. And I think, those poor greenhouses, you see in Guernsey, all these dilapidated greenhouses. There's meant to be money in Guernsey.
Well, there's lots of money in
Exactly. So, if I had money in
There's
Guernsey,
lots of poverty, but there's lots of money as well.
If I had money in Guernsey, I would invest in rebuilding these greenhouses and getting those industries up and running again, because it could employ people, it could feed the local population. The tomatoes don't have to travel anywhere.
I know, but you're talking about people being philanthropic, and people generally now who have got money aren't philanthropic. They are hoarders. That is what rich people are. They hoard money.
I'm musing.
I know you're musing, but that would mean that people who are wealthy would be philanthropic and doing things for the community. And actually, the people who do things for the community around the globe are people who generally don't have money or don't have vast amounts of money.
It's weird,
and they give their time and energy, and they give food and things.
We have more billionaires in the world than we've ever had.
And more poverty than ever.
And more poverty than we've ever had. And less philanthropy.
Absolutely. Tax the rich. Tax the rich. That is my thing. Make sure that 1% of anyone's assets over, let's say, £15 million is actually taxed 1% a year. In people keep their money, their billions, in Switzerland very often, and Swiss banks, if you have a lot of money, they charge you 2% a year to keep your money safe. So, if banks can do it, why can't governments do it? Let's just see it happen. Well, it's true. This needs to happen.
We don't want to lose any more viewers, Paul, because of your political rant.
I am very happy to lose people due to me giving political rants that people don't like.
Well, just think about the small amount of money that we earn on here.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to put my political views aside from money earning.
Otherwise, there'll be no tomatoes or eggs for us.
Maybe not. But yeah, my political views are mine. If you don't like them, just tell me why you don't like them, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Change of season means it's the time of the spiders.
It is.
Haven't you noticed there are loads of spiders? We had a huge one go across the rug the other day. Luckily, we're not particularly frightened of spiders. I don't want them on me.
No, you don't like them on you.
I don't want them on me, but I don't mind them in the house at all. actively encourage, and we leave webs as well. There's a couple of webs in the kitchen.
On the windowsill.
On the windowsill, there's that little one, and he's hiding behind the crack. And he's done his little web, and he's caught a couple of things already.
He caught a fly yesterday.
Well, he didn't catch that big fly. I had to let that one out.
Yeah, he caught a little fly, I noticed.
So he's feeding well. There's one that's just sort of around the chimney area, a huge one. So, you know, spiders are our friends.
Didn't it go up the chimney?
It went up the chimney. He's just inside. I think he was having a look around. He's probably come out again.
It's having a picnic, yeah.
But, well, it's mating season, isn't it?
It is mating season.
That's why they come in. They come in to mate.
Yeah, because they like it a bit warmer.
And we had a spider nursery in the utility room a couple of weeks ago. I always tell the spiders, go and find a crack somewhere. I don't want you swinging in the wind in my house, getting into my laundry.
They are so funny though, especially if they're on the ceiling and then they come down on their little silks and then they sort of eat their silk back up and then they bounce down again and things.
They what?
It's they reuse it. Yeah, they're perfect at reusing things.
They eat it?
And of course,
doesn't
now
it
is
go back
the
into
time.
Their bottoms like a reel?
It's not
like the
their
Hoover
bottoms.
cord.
No, it doesn't.
Is it
do
not
that.
on like a little spiral?
No, it doesn't.
Like a little bobbin?
Where is that come from?
They eat it.
Oh, and of course now is the
that.
time that when you go out your front door, no, it's not on a bobbin. When you go out your front door, you need to sort of have a check and move your hand around just in case you walk directly into a web.
Oh, that's shattered all my fantasies about spiders now.
You can have fantasies about spiders.
Well, they've got a little bobbin in the bottom.
Wheel it in, wheel it out, yeah. But there was one the other day, the sun was just in the right direction. I was looking out into the garden and this tiny cobweb was on one of our plants, but one of the threads went right across the lawn.
Yeah, I got rid of that.
About like 10 or 12 foot across. And it was like, how on earth did the spider get from there to there?
Well, he's had to do it again because I removed it.
Well, hopefully he did one which wasn't
because I had to get to that section of the garden.
Yes, you do.
I was picking up some leaves.
Yeah.
So yeah, and of course that's why Halloween always has all the spider webs.
Yeah, yeah.
But they seem a bit early this year, Paul.
Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that you think the autumn is going to be a traditional autumn and then be saying to me that the spiders are early this year. You can't have it both ways. You can only have it one or the other. I think they're early. I do think they're early though. Yeah, I think autumn is early. I was saying in A Week at the Plot about 2 or 3 weeks ago that when I was looking at the beds I was feeling it was autumn already. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I guess the seasons don't stick to the rules, do they really?
No, they don't. And they can't stick to the rules with all the human intervention climate change that is going on.
Well, I mean, a lot of the rules aren't rigid, but some are. And I wanted to bring that up because I was a little bit annoyed yesterday. I was. So one of our neighbours has got a skip.
Well, it's hired a skip.
Had a skip.
Yeah.
In the road. And
on the side of the road.
This always mystifies me because there's a line on a skip. And it says, level loads only to this line. And I looked out yesterday or the day before and the skip is like piled high by their builders.
2 foot above the line, at least.
And I said to you, they're not going to pick that skip up.
And I said, well, I hope they reject it. I hope they don't pick it up.
This is ridiculous. I mean, things are falling off.
When we've had skips, I think once or twice here, or twice maybe. And we've been very careful, you know, we've made sure that everything is packed really well and that every bit of space is used.
Well,
when we've had it at the allotment, the same thing. You are.
So you want to maximise.
You know, we've made sure, and then, yeah, there's the level, and we make sure that we're on that level, you know, as the rules, as the guidelines suggest, you know, or not suggest, state, not suggest. So, you know, that's what we've done. And this one was just ridiculous.
Well, then the guy turned up yesterday to collect it in his skip lorry, and I could see him taking photos of it.
He could see him taking photos because he was glued to the windows. If we had net curtains, they would have been twitching.
Yeah, of course.
I think they'd have been ripped aside, in fact, rather than twitching.
I wanted a full view and I wanted to find out what the outcome was going to be. And the outcome was that the guy was taking photos of it. And sort of I saw shaking heads and things like that.
And?
Yeah. So he made them remove a foot of stuff. But then I noticed he had another skip.
Yeah, he was dropping one off.
And then he delivered another one.
Yeah.
That they then had to put all that stuff into.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they weren't happy.
No, they weren't. They weren't. And it you know, I find it we all need to live within certain rules to make society work well. And there's always those people who want to break the rules and push the rules.
Or just ignore them.
Ignore them and get more. Get more. It's even when it comes to filling a skip overfilled, that to me is greed. That to me says I'm paying 350 quid and I want to get £400 worth for my money.
I just don't even think it's greed. I think it's stupid.
No, I think it's that push. Oh, they won't mind. They'll take it. And you know, sometimes people do.
But you see it all the time with skips.
I know
and
you do.
I always think,
I know you
how
do.
on earth is that going to travel down a highway safely? And that's the point. Apparently, it is actually illegal to overfill and collect an overfilled skip.
It is.
And he took that off and it was still overfilled.
Well, I think it was down, and of course that they have the big net. If you've seen a week at the plot when we've had a skip at the allotment, you see the big net that now comes on and holds things down.
See a net.
No, there's a net. It's like two arms
like
with
a
a net. It is, and it brings it over and then it pulls it down to hold things on.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So there we are. That was the neighbour's skip story.
Yeah, that was fascinating.
It was exciting. I did enjoy it. It was the highlight of my day yesterday.
It was, yeah, particularly as you were still recovering, weren't you?
I could be a Karen.
Oh, you are a Karen.
Yeah, definitely.
You are a Karen, yeah.
Because I wanted to go out there and tell them that their skip was illegal.
But there are Karens that are Karens because they're ignorant, and there are Karens like you would be because you wanted to follow the rules.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho, it's time for the intellectual bit.
Makes up for the other 40 minutes or whatever, yeah.
A Word for Every Day of the Year by Stephen Poole. That's the book I'm quoting from.
1st of September.
I'm using... Oh, well...
No, 1st of September. You've got to go by the 1st of September.
Okay. This is the day that you're watching. 1st of September. Exiguous.
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 Without due care.
Exiguous. What is exiguous, Latin exiguous, is tiny in size or number, meagre or of little consequence. Fittingly, its first appearance in English is as an example of rhetorical litotes. See the 3rd of December? No, I'm not going to see the 3rd of December.
No, he's not going to jump to the 3rd.
With the author of the eulogy, Elijah's Wish, 1630.
Don't know.
Robert Willian dedicating his exiguous tract to his patron and widow of the sermon's subject, the Viscountess of Sudbury. There are too many words.
Oh, Sudbury.
Similarly, the poet Sigrid Sassoon, who died on this day in 1967, refers to his memoir to the war journal. Oh, this is too complicated. Refers in his memoir to the war journal that he kept. The war journal he kept as my exiguous diary.
So does this basically mean they wrote very few words in those cases?
Exiguous happily could also be used in mock heroic style, as the early 18th century poet John Phillips refers grandly to mice as the race exiguous.
There's loads of mice.
Uninured to wet. What? Why does this guy have to write this way? It's too complicated.
It's so that you can go backwards and forwards on other days.
I just can't. I just don't understand what he's writing. It's not simple enough for me.
So baking a cake will fail if you use an exiguous amount of flour.
But you wouldn't say that.
Well, I just did.
Yeah, but who uses these kind of words, really?
I can think of some Conservative MPs or previous MPs who would. Yeah.
There's loads more. I can't be bothered.
Yay, he's given up.
So it means a small amount.
I think so, yeah.
Why not just say that? In fact, next time I'm just getting the dictionary. I'm just going to point at words.
So what's that oil that's really expensive?
Jasmine.
So you use an exiguous amount of jasmine.
Well, I'd just say a tiny amount.
Yeah, there we are.
Let's go on to the easy bit.
What have we watched on television?
Yeah. Gosh.
We've watched a lot this week, a huge amount, but really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I've managed to stay awake for most of it.
You have, yeah.
Even though I've been ill. So, we started the week on Sunday evening with a programme that we have watched on and off for many years, Country File.
Yes.
Now, I lost interest in Country File many years ago because it became too much about livestock all the time.
Yeah.
These poor little animals being slaughtered for food.
It seems to have gone more over to wildlife now, which I think is more interesting.
Wildlife and environment and doodah.
Yeah.
Climate.
Yeah.
Which it bloody well should do because, frankly...
Well, it was the Farmers programme. It used to be Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, and it used to have a cracking theme tune.
And
then they changed the theme
yeah.
tune.
Yeah.
It was the same tune, but different instrumentation. And frankly, it lost it for me. Completely lost it. I still miss that theme tune. It was cracking. Go on. But this week it was about the seed bank.
There was, it was various different things.
At Wakehurst?
Wakehurst.
Yeah. Wakehurst?
Wakehurst Seed Bank. Really interesting. And it was about how they are using seeds there and they're
saving the seeds.
Well, they're saving them and they're using them and they're repopulating areas and they send them around the world. It was a really good segment of Country File.
But
really interesting.
The thing that always mystifies me about the seed banks is they always end up saying things like, and the seed can be stored for hundreds of years. And then I thought to myself, but in hundreds of years' time, you're not going to have an environment that you can actually sow the seeds.
Yeah, that is possible. I mean, it's like lavenders and rosemary's things. We're getting much more a climate to grow rosemaries and lavenders. Warmer, drier.
Unless it's grown in like a Logan's Run.
Oh yeah, it could be grown in a Logan's Run.
Dome.
Biosphere.
Domed city.
So that was really interesting. And then
I'll
they
be
were
Jenny
talking.
Agutter.
You can be Jenny Agutter.
I'll wear a little mini
We talked
dress.
a lot about Jenny Agutter this week.
Yeah,
actually.
we did.
Have, yeah.
love a
But
bit of Jenny.
then we got onto another segment, which was about the Country File calendar. And this is where viewers send in photos that they've taken over the year, and various people pick the 12 best to put in the Country File calendar. Well, boy, did they go on and on and on
Talk about drag it out twice.
It was more than twice. It was more. John Craven, I'm a great fan of John Craven. You know, used to watch John Craven's News Round, all of that. And it just like, they showed us the 12, I think, that we had to pick from about 3 times. And twice, it was with like the weather. They do a weather report, and I think they showed us the 12 and said, this is the number that you can, scan. Oh, that was the other thing.
Yeah.
Scan this QR code and do blah, blah, blah. And it flashed up the QR code, then it vanished.
Yeah, but the thing is about that QR code, right? Okay, imagine us as a very old couple on the sofa. By that point on a Sunday evening, you're glued to the sofa, relaxing. The phone's over there. Can you imagine? Paul, there's a QR code on telly. Get the phone.
Oh, it's gone.
Scan it. Have you got the phone? Get the phone. Oh, the QR code's gone now.
Yeah, it's the news by then.
You can look at the website, Paul.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, the QR code's back, Paul. Yeah. Get the phone. Quick, get the phone. Don't fall over, Paul.
Which I most probably would.
Get the phone. Oh, the QR code has gone
again. But yeah,
really?
it was. I know that this is
they
for charity.
Should say in 5 minutes' time.
Yeah, they could flash up.
The QR code is going to come, and we're going to show the QR code throughout the last quarter of the programme.
Yeah, just keep the QR code in the bottom right-hand corner with, Country File Wildlife Calendar.
Think of the oldies.
Anyway, yeah, so that was that. So we watched Country File. Yeah, that annoyed us, enjoyed us, and annoyed us.
Enjoyed us.
Enjoyed us, yes.
It enjoyed us.
It enjoyed us, yeah. And we enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we also we've started getting back into the quizzes, because it's quizzes
we have,
now on
yeah.
television.
So we did the usuals of Mastermind and...
I got a few.
He did get a few, yeah. Then we went on to
Only Connect. Which I rarely get.
Yeah,
but I did get a
couple.
couple.
You got a couple.
I
I got a few.
And then University Challenge.
And you got 1, and I got 2.
Because I am universally challenged, frankly, in terms of those kind of subjects.
But then on BBC 4, it showed a repeat of a show from like 40 years ago called Call My Bluff.
Yes, we enjoyed that.
It was Frank Muir. I can't remember the other guy. It was, and this is where they come up with each of the 3 in each team has a definition of an obscure word, and the other team need to guess which one is correct. Who else is on it?
Judy Geeson, or whatever her
name
is.
Thingy from the news.
Thingy from the news.
Edward Woodward. Edward Woodward was on. Equalizer, Anyway, it was fascinating and really enjoyable and took us back. But what was amazing is the cigarette smoking.
Oh yeah, they were just lighting up.
Having a cigarette.
Little ashtray there.
Edward lit his up, and then the
Judy,
other person lit hers
well.
up. And they were answering the questions with the cigarette.
There was no warning before it. This show will show cigarette smoking.
It was
just
bizarre.
Normal as anything. And it was.
It was then.
I mean, you go to somebody's house and you'd say, "Do you mind if I smoke?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would very often say to somebody, "Would you like a cigarette?"
Here's an ashtray. Here's an
I remember as a child.
Do you want one?
As a child,
do you want one of these?
We would offer the cigarettes out. Mum would say, "Oh, well, give give Auntie so-and-so a cigarette, and
people
you go
that could
over there.
People that could afford it would have a box of,
We had a
large box of cigarettes.
Well, we didn't have a large box of cigarettes, but we did have a cigarette box with a lid, and you'd offer that, and the ashtray. Yeah.
Bizarre, isn't it? I mean, now the thought
Where
of
is my ashtray?
The big ashtray, it's in storage somewhere in one of the boxes.
But Mum and Dad were given an ashtray at their weddings.
It's lovely, but it's
and I still got it. It was for their wedding.
So what year did they get married?
1954.
Yeah, 1954. So it's a 50s style. It's beautiful. I put it away when we had the house on the market, lest somebody think we were smokers. I used to be a smoker.
Well, we put not potpourri, but you put oils with sand and things.
I would use it for incense or scented sand as a feature. Lovely. So we thoroughly enjoyed Call My Bluff. That was good fun. We also watched an interesting adaptation of Rumpelstiltskin.
Yes.
With Jane Horrocks. That was very interesting because it was silent, other than music, one song, and a few bits of laughter and crying.
Yeah, so it wasn't silent at all.
But
there was no talk in it as such.
It was kind of like a sort of theatrical...
it was like mime with music and song.
Yeah,
basically.
It was very interesting. Very interesting. You had to sort of find out what was going on through the actions and through the filming.
He did fall asleep.
At the end.
But we watched the next bit, the final like 5 minutes the following day. Yeah.
So, but it was interesting because you couldn't fully remember the story of Rumpelstiltskin. But you sort of remembered it as it went along. Oh yes.
They need to guess her name.
Yeah, I'm not sure who the director was or the producer, but it was very interesting. Very interesting.
I think that was Sky Arts.
We continue with the final episode of Wonderland about the authors responsible for writing stories for children in a specific type of style. And this culminated in the works of Tolkien, J.M. Barrie, and somebody else.
A.A. Milne, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
And of course, this is all to do with their influences and their tragedies in life, which spur them on to writing these types of what were called children's books at the time. So that was really interesting. We also watched another program called Discovering Sci-Fi on Film, which had 3 critics discussing, very suited and booted, weren't they?
They were. It was like, I thought maybe this is like a decade ago and some of the films weren't that far, but it was actually 2020.
Yeah, I think we've seen it before.
We may have done, but they gave a rundown of their 25 favourite sci-fi films.
Yeah.
And there were a couple in there that I'd never heard of that we might watch it, I'll keep an eye out and see if they come up.
It was really interesting, really good viewing. We also watched a documentary called Blitzed, the 80s Blitz Kids story. So if you've not heard of the Blitz, or Blitz as it was known, this was a club in London in the early to mid-80s.
Yeah, mid-80s, yeah.
And it was really an exclusive club to begin with. You could only get in if you had a look. And very often the door was manned by Steve Strange. It was kind of just before our time in London. And we're sort of 10 years younger
than that,
than those lot, that crowd. So we wouldn't have been in that era as such. But we knew a few people who were at the Blitz.
Yeah.
I mean, people like Boy George, Mark Moore, our friend of long ago, Sonia, she was in at the Blitz, and a few of her friends.
It was the in place, and it was, as Richard says, if you didn't look right, if you didn't have the look, you would be turned away by Steve Strange. And it was interesting that they all got quite excited because turned up from the Rolling Stones.
Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger turned up.
He wasn't allowed in.
But he wasn't allowed in because he didn't look right. Steve Strange said, no, you can't come in.
And this was all, it was all started and inspired by David Bowie.
Well, it was sort of the British Studio 54.
Although not as grand or as big.
No. And many of these people, Marilyn and Boy George and other people, were living in squats or in derelict houses in Warren Street, and they would live for the Blitz club night.
And they would, as Marilyn said, they were living it. They were living this look. Of the early 80s, the late 70s, early 80s.
He was saying if he needed to go to the corner shop,
he would go in full look.
He would take 2 hours and go out to the corner shop.
Yeah, I mean, this was a lifestyle, and it was a grungy lifestyle as well, because nobody had any money. And
Robert Elms was there, who's a journalist, and presenter, and was sort of instrumental. And the interesting thing is they were talking about how Spandau Ballet developed.
Yeah, they were launched.
And basically the manager of Spandau Ballet, who I met years and years ago when I was with the band, not Spandau Ballet, the band that I managed, he used all people from the Blitz because they were all creative. So there were people doing the album covers, the clothes, the hair, the styling, the dancing, the movement of the band. And it was incredible that, and taking photographs.
Well, it was the ethos of punk, which was do it yourself. You didn't need to be great at anything, but you just gave it a go and did it, and you created a look that didn't need to be perfection as such. It was a look and a style that was yours, with influences taken from film noir, the 40s. I mean, look at films like Blade Runner, for example.
Yeah.
Some of the looks in that were inspired by that era, the 40s, So, it was a really interesting programme.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to us because we were just coming into our sort of early to mid-teens at that point. So we kind of would have missed out on that scene. And the scene was very different when we were emerging in our own ideas around style and pop culture.
Yeah.
Because the looks that were being created at the time of the Blitz Club became mainstream.
Yeah.
As we were emerging into our mid to late teens.
Well, he was one of them was talking about how a particular style was worn by Princess Di, who it was fascinating.
The whole shoulder pads and the pillbox hats with fascinators and all of that. That was all born at that time and inspired by.
And coincidentally, just mentioning her, she died 27 years ago today.
Was it today?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
1st of September?
Oh, 31st of August. Yeah, we're filming on 31st of August. Yeah. I was in New York. I was giving. I was going over there to take a poster and a first edition of Streetcar Named Desire to Jessica Lange.
And how we've forgotten.
Yeah.
Do you remember the time?
Time moves on.
Time moves on, exactly.
We'll never forget Princess Di.
Well, I mean, I don't think she is forgotten, but to imagine how it felt at that time, it was a very weird time, wasn't it? Anyway, let's not dwell on that because it was super sad. We continue with the series Time Bandits.
Fun.
It was okay, yeah. And we have finished Schitt's Creek again.
I think the fourth time.
Is it the fourth or fifth?
I don't know. It's definitely the fourth, maybe
Yeah.
the fifth.
I mean, we should be able to quote it by now.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But it's
Love
not
it,
about that though, is it? It's kind of, it's almost like stepping back into a comfortable piece of clothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't it? It's a real comfort factor, Schitt's Creek.
I mean, it's like
It
rereading
really is.
a book that you really like. I mean, that's what it is.
It's
Rewatching these things.
Ultimate comfort watching.
And there were lots of tears from me. You know, not bawling tears, but just sort of streaking down my cheeks. Yeah.
Right, that's it. Bit of a bumper show this week.
Woo!
We do apologise for the length of the show, but that's the way it goes sometimes. What, Paul? Why is
no.
So that's it for another week. We do hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you, bloody thank you for watching. And remember, we're also on Instagram, Richard and Paul. We're on Facebook, Richard and Paul. We also have a private Facebook group, Planet Vegetaria. That's a Facebook group by Richard and Paul. Richard and Paul since 2017. That's contractual. And of course we have our coffee page as well. So join us on all the platforms. And if you are going to join us on our Facebook group, Planet Vegetaria,
Answer the questions.
answer the questions. Because if you don't,
yeah.
the computer will say no.
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah, you have to answer the
You have
questions.
to.
If you don't, it gets rejected
Even if you're lying.
by Facebook. Yeah, yeah.
Just lie.
yeah.
Break the rules.
Don't break the rules. They're guidelines. We should live within the rules.
Yeah, live within
Maybe
the guidelines.
nudging them
There
a little
are
bit every
guidelines.
now and again.
There are guidelines, and
Yeah.
it's moderated by us.
Yeah.
Lovely, but it is a very friendly, warm and welcoming space. So come in, join us. You don't have to post all the time or anything. We post regularly, and many of our members post very regularly. Every day there are new posts. So
Well, some of our members.
And it's not all about vegetarianism. We're certainly not forcing anything down anybody's throat. No, never. What? God, you disgust me sometimes, Paul. You really do. So, say goodbye. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Come again. We hope you enjoyed it.
Do you think they've all fallen asleep like you do at night?
Bye.
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 See you again.
Watch all the adverts next time. Because we hardly earn anything at all at the
There might
moment.
be one coming up which you could watch the first
Watch
30
it
seconds
again.
of. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.